welcome to another episode of the Simply Living Me podcast with Charmaine Brown. I am super excited about today's guest. She is Fallon Scott. And let's just say I had the biggest girl crush on her a few years ago when we were both in a network marketing, a health and wellness business. Although I never really got a chance to get to know her because she was on the Black Girls Rock team from afar. And so long story short, once we both kind of moved away from that particular business and started up our own businesses, we connected, and not only in the business way, but in a personal and friendship way. And so I am super excited to introduce you all to Fallon Scott. Hello, my love.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I remember when Simply Living Me, when you called, I was like, I want to do this podcast, and you're doing it.
I know. It's been such a journey. I started this podcast in 2020. And it was just all about me and all the messy stuff in my head that I wanted to share. And now it has turned into this brand new business that I'm super, super excited about. So I literally, it was the right thing, and it made sense for me to bring on my friends and my colleagues who are in the entrepreneurial space to share their own insights. And so you were one of on the top of my list. And again, as I tell the viewers and the listeners, I spent a lot of time really watching Fallon on social media and just the way she ran her health and wellness business. And then when she shifted into her other business, we saw a lot of synergies where she could help me with my business while I was helping her with growing her business. Cause I think I was in the beginning stage of F28
you were.
Agency. So,
yes.
So that's a little bit about Fallon from my perspective, but let me ask you this, and this is not part of the question.
Great.
You ready?
Yeah.
Do you remember, and I will not feel bad if you don't, but do you remember the first time we met?
I don't know if I remember the first time we met, especially if it was with the health and wellness business.
It was.
No, I don't remember that. I remember the first time we reconnected, you commented on something about my dog in my DMs. And that's, and that's how, that's how we started our friendship and eventually spent time together in Detroit. I don't remember.
Yeah. So we were at one of the big conferences. I think it was in Florida, and you happened to be coming down the stairs. You were walking in Gen Pop area because, y'all, Fallon was a high income earner. So she, of course, I was always in VIP and I was in Gen Pop.
We are all special. Does not matter.
We are all special. I was special in Gen Pop.
Yes.
And you happened to be coming down the stairs, and you and I took our first picture.
Aww.
And that was the first time we met, but we really got to meet each other and learn each other when I reached out to you about Luca.
I'm so glad. I hope you still have that picture. You got to find it.
Girl, it's somewhere. I can't remember which conference it was, but I'll try to find it.
Awesome.
But I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to share, to connect, all the things, catch up, all of that.
I know, because literally Fallon and I have not had. I know. She's just birthed a whole nother human being, and we'll probably talk
all
about
those
that
things,
too.
Yes.
So Fallon, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. So I think personally, probably every single person that's listening, I'm so many things, right? Wife, mom, daughter, sister. I'm the oldest of 4. I am a somewhat new mom. I have a 21-month-old and a 4-month-old. So like she said, back to back, it has been, these pandemic babies and all the things. I'm an avid world traveler. I love to travel 40 plus countries, international speaker. I'm from Houston. I currently live in Atlanta. We are, knock on wood, in the process of making our way back to Houston, obviously, with these kids, need some support. We've got some good family here.
All the support.
Yeah, that's been helping us out. But, not four siblings, all four of us kids all now have our own kids. So, all the nieces and nephews are like the same age. So my parents went from 1 to 5 grandkids, I think, in like 18 months, something crazy. So we will probably be heading back there. I'm a Baylor University alum. On the professional side, I got my business degree from there, my master's in accounting. I'm a Delta. I love food. I'm a foodie. I love books. I'm a PK. I'm a believer, and, just really excited about continuing to learn who I am in these different, roles. Like, I know we'll kind of get into some of that. Professionally, like I said, I have my business degree. I'm a CPA. I have a Lean Six Sigma. I like efficiency and all those kind of things. I have a couple businesses. I have a Vision to Fruition workshop company that I have where I would travel. Actually, literally right before COVID was Detroit was the last stop that I made.
Detroit.
In 2020, February, I think it was February 2020 or March 2020, I was doing our Vision to Fruition workshop. Yeah, and had a great time. Had to shut that down. And then I have my agency that she was mentioning, F28 Agency. I'm sorry, this one curl is going to bother me. It's like hanging out. F28 Agency is, my baby. So we can get into that or not get into that, but that's just a little, background.
Yeah, no. Okay. So I would love for, because I think it's important for people to hear the story about, because I obviously know it very well, that you leaving Delta, starting in the health and wellness business, and then your transition into building and creating F28 Agency. Yeah.
So it's so funny. One of the questions you sent me before was, how did you get excited and, want to start entrepreneurship? I did not. Like, that was never on my dream board. It was never in my sphere. I thought I was going to be a corporate girly, climbing the corporate ladder. But I had a ton of student loan debt. And by a ton, I mean 240 grand worth. So $250,000 in loans. And frankly, I started entrepreneurship out of desperation at Delta's internal audit and enterprise risk management group. And, I had a salary, but when you have $2,000 a month in student loan payments and you're single,
that alone,
right? There's more than most people's mortgages or what have you. So stressed is an understatement. I always said I could never, climb Maslow's hierarchy because I was at the bottom of the pyramid, just like trying to figure out how to get my basic needs met. I'm across the health and wellness company, had no interest in entrepreneurship. Like I said, I'm an avid traveler. I was headed to South Africa with friends, which I know sounds counterintuitive to being broke, but I got to travel for free with Delta. So, I was still making the most of what I could.
There's that, right?
So I was like, man, I need to be like sexy on the beach. So I tried to rap with the company, and that was in March. It's so funny because it was this time of year. This week, I've been getting all of my updates from 2015. And I got back.
And that was in the bathroom, right? You met up with someone in the bathroom.
In the bathroom at a Starbucks, got wrapped, kept it on, literally caught my flight. It was supposed to be that night. My passport was full, and I actually ended up not being able to even take the same flight as my 10 friends, which is a whole different story. Anywho, so April 1st, I come back from vacation, and I saw the girl that rapped me say that she got like I think that was when she got like either the $20,000 or $50,000. And I thought it was a joke because it was April 1st that it was posted. And so that's what really piqued my interest. That's what got me looking into, okay. And then it wasn't just her, right? It was all of these women on her team, these wives, these moms, and I started looking at them and not even sizing up, but like, okay, well, if they could do it, I can do it. I just needed $2,000 a month, right, to pay some bills. And so I did that within, I think 60 days. I hit that 4th rank in the company and was averaging about $2,000 a month. And I was like, hold up, what is this? And then eventually, we'll talk about some of that later if we get there, but eventually went full time with that, left Delta Airlines, was not the plan, but I left, went full speed ahead, into the company. And by April that next year, I had quadrupled my old salary with Delta. And I met so many, again, women like you other entrepreneurs, women that weren't even entrepreneurs, but through that business, they were able to see that they did have special skill sets that they could turn into a business, but many of them lacked that kind of corporate structure, understanding the operational skills and the overall business acumen like that I had gained, working in Big Four public accounting and then going over to Delta. I just saw that, hey, you guys could be working. So that's how the agency was born, was from this, wanting people to automate, not manually do all these things, helping to take stuff off their plate. But that's really not a sexy service. And so honestly, it was really hard. So like some of my other clients, frankly, who either had a corporate background or who understood the importance of those things, we're interested in the automation. And it's so funny because now it's AI this and automation that. And I'm like, I've been trying to tell y'all since 28. But yeah, that's what my original thought of what the agency was going to be about, was back in operations. And it's now morphed into 8,000 other things and services. So that's kind of the
But isn't that how that's how it always works. That's how it always works. So one of the things that I was sitting here listening to you and just knowing kind of where your genius lies is around automation and operations and processes and things like that. I remember watching you when you were in the health and wellness business and watching your the team that you were with, literally creating. Even though there was a standard way of doing business, you all created greater processes and practices. And so you were already doing that and practicing that in that business. And so it almost kind of sounds natural to move into and build a business in that way.
Yeah, I think, for me, I didn't realize that that's what was happening at the time, but we were growing so fast that I had to figure out, how do we duplicate? What systems and processes do we need to put in place to duplicate, right? So that everyone can be successful. What does it look like to train a team? What does it look like to have retention with customers? What does it look like to follow up? All of these operational things and these different segments that you have for every business. Before I knew what that was, I was doing all the things. I was doing marketing. Once I marketed, and it was two prongs, right? It was two different verticals, if you will. So we were marketing to get customers, and then I was marketing to grow my team, right? So franchise, if you will. So it's like, I got to bring people in and get you trained, but then I've also got to make sure that the customers are taken care of. And so that's how so many entrepreneurs feel. I've got to grow my business. I got to find someone to do marketing, social media, do this. I've got to get them trained. And at the same time, I've got to go and acquire customers, fulfill the service,
the business develop.
Then I've got to retain them, or, whatever I need to do to at least get referrals or other continued, recurring revenue, out of them. Like, you're trying to do all the things. So yes, ironically enough, that business was my real kind of first test run. And like you said, I did do very well. And so I was able to see, okay, I can come in and be this almost fairy godmother, right, for these women who are struggling with the same things that I struggled with. But I really have this superpower of, as an auditor, people hear that you're a CPA and they think taxes. Most people don't know that when I was with, Delta, I had to go into all these different, we could be auditing a vendor, we could be auditing somebody internal, it could be an airport, it could be the entire cargo organization. I had to go and learn that entire process, meet with anywhere from 20 to 300 people, learn that system, then come in and audit it and make, recommendations and improvements. So my superpower really lies in, how can I make the process more efficient for this person, for this business unit, for whatever. And so being able to say, hey, if you're a service provider, you can come to me. I can look at your business holistically and say, these are the pieces that are slowing you down. Let's get an overall plan. Maybe you do need branding and marketing because you haven't built up your clientele yet. Maybe you don't need any branding and marketing because you have 8,000 customers and you're overwhelmed. We've got to get your back office together. But a lot of times when you're in the weeds, you can't see it. So I was able to kind of come in and diagnose where they needed the most help and start to get that action plan for them.
Yeah. So that was a lot.
Sorry.
And you do a lot. No. I'm like, because in my head, I'm thinking about everything that you said, especially when you are building your business. And so there's the aspect of building the business and all the pieces and parts that you need to within it. And then there's the continuing to expand, right? And sometimes there are things that you don't know you need until you get there.
Yeah. And then,
and that's part of the process though, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not unique to anyone. That's part of the process.
It's part of the process. And like I tell my clients, you can get there faster though if you're partnered with the right people, right? And I'm not saying that I'm the end all be all, but I was actually just talking to my career coach and a client which is another story, today. And she sent me something. Oh, I'm going to do this because we finished her website. She's in DEI as well, head of people and blah, blah, blah. But she has a consulting agency. Most of our clients are multi-passionate. They are either still in corporate and have multiple businesses and brands, or they have, they're a podcaster and a coach and they have an e-commerce store. And so they come to us to really get their overall brand or their personal brand all together, right? So anyway, she tells me, hey,
right.
Thankfully we're friends. So she sent me a voice note. I'm going to do this today to get this new website and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, no, you're about to spend way too much money. All you need to do is go into your DNS settings and your GoDaddy and forward your domain that you already own. And she was like, you don't know what you don't know. I'm so glad that I just happened to share that with you before I wasted this time and money. And it can be hard for me to try to have someone see the value in investing with me to just share what your process is so that I can save you money, right? And save you time and help you be more efficient. I say that, our agency has two sides. We have our sexy services and our sustainability services that help you scale. The sexy stuff is the branding and the websites and the marketing once, and then we've gained their trust. And then they're like, oh crap, but we need this. Oh, I need this in the back end. Right. And so I try to explain to them like a house. We're going to build your house. You care about the finishes. You want the 8-burner stove or the freestanding tub that you put on your Pinterest board. You want these things, these certain features, and I can just go put that on your website, right? But our unique differentiator, value proposition is really that we are a consulting agency that's going to care about strategy. So if you want someone to just be a yes man or an order taker, you can go do that on Fiverr. But if you communicate to me, this is my long-term goal. These are the things that I want to do. I want to launch this, or I have this product or service. My operational brain is already thinking, this is how this needs to be operationalized on the back end. So we're really more of a strategic partner to where we're not just going to build your website. We're going to say, what is this linked to? Do you have an email funnel? Do you have an email list? Do you have Kajabi? Okay, you want to launch this course? Do you have Teachable? Like, how is this going to work? Right. And we ask a lot of the questions that, frankly, a lot of our business owners have not had to ask or think through because, like you said, they don't know what they don't know. So when they come to us, they end up finding so much more value than just, oh, we got this product or service. So I've really been hired out, sometimes officially and unofficially, as their chief of staff to say, hey, let me help you execute. Let me come on and be more of a strategic thought partner amongst you and your leadership team to execute the strategic vision that you have. Because again, you want the 8-burner gas stove, but you don't know what the electrical and the plumbing and everything else behind the walls, what the infrastructure.
Do you have the 220 line and the this and the that and the,
do you have the infrastructure in place to, like you said, sustain it and scale it, right? What are the support joists there? What's behind the walls? We can make it pretty. We're going to make it pretty. But what's behind the walls? And I started the agency with wanting to help people with what's behind the walls, and they really weren't ready to receive it. So now they're coming in for the other services, and then they're like, oh, I do need this. I do need that.
Right. So I'm thinking about a post you did back when you started F28 Agency. I told you I was going to ask you stuff that's not on this list.
I'm ready.
Stuff that's coming back to me. Yeah. So you posted, there was some kind of sign that you received or message you received from God that the name of your business was F28.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that?
So people started asking me, how again, because I was in the network marketing business, right? And everyone kept saying, and I was very transparent online, on social, my vision boards. I mean, to this day, I still have them, on my screensavers. And people would say, you posted this, it came to pass. You posted this, it came to pass. Can you help me? How does that happen? And I had to really sit down and I came up with this 4-part framework. Okay, this is my process of what I do to get there. A different name. It was that Vision to Fruition, like consulting. And that was like January through March. And then in April, because I remember I flew back into Dallas to go to Waco because Delta, we were having a new line cross at Baylor. I was getting on the flight and I told my friend Emily De La Cruz, I was like, I think I'm supposed to name the agency F28. And I get an alert from Delta that says your seat was just changed to 28F. And I still have these screenshots. And I was like, this is a joke, right? Oh, I actually think I still have the printout in my drawer, right? So then, actually, I was leaving Detroit from the Vision to Fruition stuff. I get stuck. I had switched and I was so upset. I was like crying in the hotel that night. There was so much going on. I get another. So again, that wasn't my original seat, but because I got stuck the next day, this is like months later, mind you. This is almost a year later. I had another confirmation, 28F. It was just like insane back to back that kind of stuff kept happening. And it's, if I'm transparent, what's been going on because I've, reached out to you. But over the last year, I'm like, screw this business, screw these crazy clients, screw these crazy team members. Like, I'm out. Let me go back to corporate. Let me do what I know. I'm not going to take any BS this time. Let me go somewhere where I'm really valued. And like I said, I have a career coach, right? Been looking at jobs for over a year, made it to the final rounds of 50 million, interviews of these top companies and tech and blah, blah, blah. And just nothing has come through. And I don't know if that still won't be, part of the plan. But I was, praying the other day. And of course, like looking at memes and stuff on social media. And somebody posted something about like, you're trying to figure out what to do. And God's just telling you to do what I already told you to do. Right. And it was clear from all those signs and everything else. I had no desire to do F28. That wasn't something I dreamt about. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I didn't even want to do network marketing. Again, it was born out of this desperation, right? So I did know that I could meet the need, but that the agency was never my long-term goal to do any of that. So it's just really ironic to be in this space now and this transition of, the moment you say, I'm shutting something down, then all the dream clients come, people that don't mind paying your rate come. And I'm like, so what I have to do, say that I wanted to quit in order to like get in a better space. So my husband has been laughing and is like, just see where this, continues to go. You really have something that people need. And it seems like you're in a place now where you really are attracting the right people. You've done the work. You've got the SOPs. You got the team. And if it's taken this long for people to see the value, that's fine. So the F28 story, I feel like was God's way of being like, I gave this to you. I gave you the signs early on. You don't need the signs when things are going well, right? You need the signs when you're over it. So it's an interesting space to be in.
Yeah. So, I can relate wholeheartedly with that. And, for me, and I've shared this on the podcast before that I had been seeing 11/22 come up all the time. That's my birthday. But I decided one day just to look it up. Like, what does this mean? Because I was catching 11/22 at times when I was like, Lord, am I supposed to be doing this? Am I on the right track? I mean, should I? Every time 11/22 comes up, there is a question in my mind. I catch it. And I know that it's God and the angels. It's an angel number that says you're moving in the right direction. The right direction. So and the reason why I wanted you to share that story is because sometimes we don't pay enough attention to the signs and the voices and we want to be in control, right? And when you give up control and you listen, it's amazing what happens. And so I say that to all of you viewers and listeners out there that, the sign, whoever you worship, whatever your deity is, literally, if you pay attention to the signs, it will direct you in the right way.
Absolutely. I believe that.
But you know what? But you also had a lot of life change.
I did.
I mean, you had a baby that you planned for,
right.
and then you had a baby you didn't know you
right.
had. You thought you was just
sick
getting
fat.
big.
Yeah, I thought I was just getting sick and fat, and was like, what is happening? And it's fun. I was literally thinking about that when you said 11/22, because I was praying that he was born on 11/11/22, and he was born on 11. He was born on the 17th, and I was so upset about it, I wasn't really upset, but I was like, man, I just know God's going to do this, right? And he was born on the 17th. And then I realized later, oh my gosh, 17 is like our number. We got married on the 17th, like all these 17 things. My first son, if you add up the digits of his birthday, it's 17. And so.
And what does 17 mean?
It doesn't mean like. Angel. I don't know.
Okay. It's just
resembles or it's just reminiscent of it. We got married privately on May 17, 2017. And then we had our wedding on 12/17/2017. So we just got all these 17 things. Yeah. And then so for both of our boys to be either born on the 17th or their birthdays to equal up to the 17th was just like, again, I just know that, again, a lot of life change, and we can like kind of get into this later again, depending on if we ever get to any of the questions. But I really firmly believe in piloting and pivoting. Pilot new processes, new programs, new services, beta test them, try new things, be open to new things, and then pivot, right? If it doesn't work or whatever. I actually have a whole book about that I need to actually finish. It's probably 80% done. And it's all of these reasons of why and when to pivot, almost like a roadmap, right? Of when it makes sense. And really like this podcast is about charting your own success, redefining it. And I had to really, when I was toying with the thought of, God, do I let go of the agency? I worked so hard on it. Everyone knows about it. I went, and it's like, I had life changes, between the two babies, I had a miscarriage. 6 days later, my mother-in-law passed away. It was so much life that I don't think that people are transparent enough about how hard entrepreneurship can be. And even if you've got good clients and just good, whatever, if those things happen in corporate, I remember when my brother passed away, he was my cousin, but he lived with us his whole life. We shared a bathroom across the hall. He was like my brother. And when he passed away in 2015, right at the start of that other business, I remember being able to take time off of work. I remember having the, what is it called in corporate? You've got the FMLA. Not FMLA, it's the services. Is it not EPA? It's something EAP. Thank you. EAP. I was like, I see the letters. EAP. I had those resources that, I was able to go to a counselor. When you run your own company, baby girl, those deliverables are still due. Now maybe if you were a client at the time or whatever, and someone's actually a friend, even if they're not a friend, you can let them know when things happen, but people pay for their stuff and they want it. Right. And so to have all of that to back after I already decided in December that I was like, hey, let me start phasing out of the agency. We started, we weren't even like, hey, let's shut it down. We started moving a lot of our done for you services over to, more passive. So people could buy them. They were evergreen, things like that. So we started phasing out. January, I hired a career coach, and then boom, February, all that stuff happened back to back. And so I think there's no shame in realizing what's working for all my friends right now. I don't have to be embarrassed if I say I want to go back to corporate. I want to do this because this is what my mental needs or my bank account or all of the above, right? Thank God for my husband, but not everybody has a husband or someone that they can lean on, financially or what have you. So I think just being able to pilot and pivot, try new things, and do what you need to do for your current life circumstances. If you're having babies, if you're taking care of an elderly parent, to me, that's a part of what Simply Living Me means. What part of my life am I in right now, and how do I need to adjust how I'm living to be able to live and not go crazy?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, spoken by somebody who actually did go crazy last year. Depression is a real thing, but so much happens, when you experience loss and you experience the threat of loss, my dad having a heart transplant, sometimes you just got to sit it down, or sometimes you have to pilot and pivot. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. So many people don't do what is best for them because they're worried about what others have to say, or about disrupting, you know, how people feel about you, or what your brand has been. Like for me, my brand for almost 30 years has been in the DEI space. I'm pivoting, you know, it served me well then. It doesn't serve me well in the future for myself. Nothing wrong with that. So I say to you, of course, you know, you wanting to transition back into corporate for all the right reasons, because I mean, you know, life changes and you have to adjust and adapt. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do.
And I think, you know, and it's so funny, again, you, like you said, you want to be in control, tell God your plans, he'll laugh, all those things. And it's like, I guess a couple things are in my mind right now. I'm like all over the place with my thoughts and how I want to articulate this. But I think a few things. It's like, you may have a plan and you may only see it this one way. I got to go back to corporate and I'm shutting down the agency, right? Whereas it could be, like, even before all of this, my team really functions independently. If someone needs branding, web design, I'm not the graphic designer. I'm not the web designer. Like I said, I meet with them. I do the strategy. I make sure things are good. But my team executes all of our services, right? Our recruiting, teams handle that. I don't have to be there for that, right? So even the thought that it was all or one, mutually exclusive, I'm going back to corporate and I'm shutting this down, right? Whereas I can still do consulting on, I've been getting all these projects just back to back. And some of them have been with the agency and some of them have been, hey, I know this is your expertise because you helped me on a previous project. Can you go create this deck for me? We're pitching this new idea to these investors in 3 weeks. Sure, no problem. I'll do your deck, right?
Exactly.
Because they know that I have the acumen. So I think, again, being open to how things can be is just key.
Yeah, it is. It is. So I want to also ask you the question around when you develop F28 Agency, were there certain values that you wanted to build into your business?
So I think,
and if so, what were they?
I think I could do a standard answer, right? I think everybody wants, I want to make sure that we have high quality products and services. I want to be sure that I create a team that feels like they can, you know, come to me. I want to deliver X amount of quality, like, right. You have these things like transparency or whatever, right? We can go find all the acronyms for values. I think for me, the bigger lesson is not what type of values I wanted, but now what type of businesses and streams do I even want to begin with? And that has been the bigger thing. I did really, really great network marketing. I've always been great at sales. Even before network marketing, I was like #1 in Texas in 2006 selling Cutco knives, so I've been good at these different things. But what I learned from, the network marketing opportunity was, okay, I don't want to have to build a business anymore that depends on me being the one to post, to sell, to motivate my team. If I went on vacation and my team was, she's not here checking in on me, I'm out. I didn't want that level of responsibility because I didn't operate like that. I needed that paycheck.
Right.
So I did the work regardless. So when I built the agency, I was like, I don't want anything that's solely dependent on me. So I have the graphic designers, the developers, right? I have all these other people with their expertise and it's not on Fallon, right?
Right.
Now, what I've learned after having the agency, and of course, like I said, we're still operational. We still love doing all the things that we're doing, but long term, I want passive. That's what makes sense for me as a wife, as a mom of 2, the things that I want to do in the future. I don't want to be worried about running payroll. I don't want to be worried about all of that, right? So we've already, we've had some real estate investments, we had rental income, we flipped homes. I have a new project that prayerfully, they just text me, they are submitting the final plans again to the fire marshal for our first commercial real estate investment project that we've got going on in Texas. And so I'm trying to move more into diversification instead of elimination, right?
Yep.
When I first left Delta, everything was quit your job, corporate, and there are aspects of that, right? That's true. But what I have learned now is, what type of business do I want? I want multiple businesses. I want diversification instead of elimination. And I want to, frankly, not have to be present, right? Can I go get a laundromat that's non-owner operated? Can I invest in a car wash that, can we go buy a business that's already existing? How, What type of real estate do I want to get involved in? All of those different things. You know, can I have a photography studio where everything is set up? I've got somebody running the blogs. We've got this automation set up. They book it online. You know, everything. That's what I want now. And the values are the same. I want to provide good service and I want to get paid well. But I think instead of giving a list that anybody can say, that's what's the important part to me, is taking each experience to continue to tweak and figure out this is what makes sense for me now or in the long term.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate you breaking it down that way. And speaking of, what's the best advice you've received around entrepreneurship?
So I don't think I got, you know, any advice, but what I did think about was, because again, I wasn't trying to go into entrepreneurship, right? And I know once I started, I did get advice, right? But what I want to share is about my mom. I was at Delta. I had been doing well with the network marketing thing and like, you know, very well, taking off, you know, hitting all the, you know, ranks and blah, blah, blah. And I remember she said to me, can you give it a full year? Can you give this opportunity a full year? You know, can you just save as much as you can? And I was under, everyone knows, you know, I've said it 50 million times, tremendous stress at my job, horrible management, like anxiety attacks. I was in the hospital. I was having heart issues. I mean, it was physically making me ill, and it didn't work out that way. My plan was to, you know, I started, like I said, in April. My plan was to give it until April. October 8th, by October 8th, 6 months, I was out. And so I think that that's so key. Again, as we're talking about diversification instead of elimination, I really respect the whole movement of do your own thing, start your own business, leave corporate. They don't value you, you know, stand up for yourself. You know, this whole, I'm a millennial, Gen X, Gen Z, the TikTokers, everybody, right? I think there's a place for that. And I think if you are under certain situations like I was, where it's high stress, it's not good for your health, then yeah, you can leave, right? But be very, have a very realistic view, right, of what it may take. And so I didn't really have like a plan B, but that's a lie. So I actually did have a plan B. It came up. I remember, so that was October, November, December. So when I left college, I started Big Four public accounting with KPMG. I know you know all about that because your husband. With KPMG, everyone knows busy season, tax season, even though I wasn't on the tax side, is January through March, April, whenever you're doing your filings, right? So November, December, I get this rollout, this email from PwC, right? Saying, hey, we're launching a new program for CPAs and accountants who are multi-passionate, just like my current clients, right? You're a doctor, or maybe you are on a mission trip. Maybe you're doing other things, but you have this skill set. We want you to come back just for busy season. And I thought, well, look at God. So I signed up for the program. They fly me out to Chicago in December for like a week or two training. And I was like, okay, this is my way that I can work up until April, like my mom said, to get that full year of still having this stable income, seeing what's going to happen, right, with this other company before just dipping. And I did that for about a month. And I'll never forget my nephew at the time, who was born severely premature, all the things, disabled, was released. And I was at work at PwC at a client. And of course, my whole family like erupts. He had been in the NICU since he was born in May. And I was just like, I'm getting out of here. I'm not doing this. And I remember feeling really, really bad because it was the middle of busy season. I knew they needed me. I just made a commitment. And I think that there's a lot to say about honoring your commitments. But like we're talking about, I needed to honor where I was at that time. I didn't know how busy It Works was and network marketing was at the top of the year. I thought that I could do both. It was a no-go. I couldn't do both and do that and hop on a flight to go home and go be with my nephew as he was getting released from the hospital. And I just apologized. Like, I can't do this. I've got to go. And frankly, there's a million other accountants. They could replace me tomorrow. It was a really hard decision. But I wanted to honor what my mom said. I wanted to be smart. I didn't want to struggle, but things worked out so well I would not have probably I hit every rank in the company in my first 11 months because I was able to just focus on it, right? By April,
just focus on
I
that.
had quadrupled my salary. And again, that's not everybody's, story, but because I gave it everything I had, because I really didn't have anything to fall back on, it worked out. So I would definitely say like stay down as long as you can.
Yeah, and know that it's not a either or. You mentioned that, right? You were like, I'm going back into corporate, so I'm going to shut this thing down. Well, that doesn't have to be that way, right? You can work for an organization, get the skills that you need, or if you just need that consistent paycheck or those benefits, and
start the other thing.
Start a business, right? There's nothing getting in the way but you in time and the commitment to the things that you want to do. Right?
Absolutely.
So you alluded to this earlier, but I want to dig a little deeper. When you hear the term simply living me, what resonates with you? What stands out for you?
I think a couple things. When I think of simply, right, or simple, think about simplifying my life, right? You're kind of taking each word. Living me, who am I, right? And like I said in the beginning, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. I have all these different pieces, right, of me. And as those are changing, as those are being redefined, the living part is going to change, right? I think about my strengths finder. I'm an achiever, I'm a doer, I'm a this, I'm a that. And I read something that was like, we're human beings, we're not human doings. And it's really hard for Fallon to not be a doer. Not for an applause, not for a paycheck. It's innately how God wired me to do.
Right.
And so, to be honest, like I told you, I said, I'm never nervous to do podcasts and stuff, but I said, I'm actually a little nervous because I've always been transparent. But I don't know how much I really want to share because I'm frankly in a weird stage. I'm not.
You're in the transition.
I'm in a transition,
stage.
Transition, transformation. So much is changing about who I am as like I said, a person, those titles or whatever, but also what's next. Every time I've done vision boards and all that, it's been very easy for me to say, when I was in public accounting, it was like, okay, you come in at this level and then you do this and then you make manager, then partner, right? There's a track. At Delta, it was like, okay, this is what we're doing. And it works in network marketing. Here's the ranks, right? It was very clear of this is what's next for me. It's okay, I wanted to pay down debt. Okay, I got a boyfriend. Okay, well, I want to get engaged. Okay, well, I want to get married. Okay, well, I want a honeymoon. Okay, well, we want to build the house. Okay, I want the car. And it's like, thankfully, right, have been blessed. God has allowed me to have and achieve and do all these things that I'm frankly in a place that's like, I have prayed more, cried more, and asked God what's next so much over this season because I don't know what simply living Fallon looks like for the future, right? Am I just supposed to be like this great mom and have these passive businesses? Am I really supposed to be promoting the agency, and building that up?